Unmute. All right, cool. So first thing we'll do is just walk through Squarespace and I'll show you the nuts and bolts of it.
Okay.
That's another thing we need to do is sign up our account.
Hey guys.
Share access. Miriam, we might have been muted when we said our hellos. We heard you. We heard you pop in, and then we started just started going. And
Okay, then I apologize for saying "Hey guys" 5 times.
No, you're good. You're good. All right. So, like I was saying, we're gonna just walk through Squarespace for a second, kind of show you the ropes and where you're probably going to be working most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then if we want to dive into specific things that you guys are more likely to be changing, or any changes that you catch that you want to take a look at while we're in here, we'll definitely leave time for that later in the talk. First, I want to just kind of show you the landscape here a little bit.
First, can you tell me just a real Dougie definition of what exactly is Squarespace?
Sure.
Just tell me what it is and why it's in my life.
So Squarespace is what's called a content management system.
Okay.
You'll see CMS is a short version of it. And it's basically a way for you to log into the back of a website so you can make changes to the front of it.
Okay.
And if you don't, most web builders you have now, even if you pay somebody for a pretty custom deal, or there's plenty of $50,000 websites that are built on things like this. But there is in a true sense, you can just straight code a website, and the only way to make changes to it or look at anything is if you access the file structure in the back end and know how to read code, and that's the only way.
Okay.
So Squarespace is the tool that you log into to make changes to it.
And you built it on Squarespace.
We built it on
Squarespace. Built on it. It's
Correct.
the lot that it's sitting on. Okay.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly. So not that one. So to access your site, you're going to log into squarespace.com/login.
Okay.
And I'll send you, make homework for Josh. Homework for APA. I guess I should do new file. So when you log into your account, it's going to show you a screen similar to this. You guys are not going to manage a whole bunch of websites, but you'll still see yours exactly like this.
Okay.
If you wanted to have other websites and launch your something else, you could do it through here.
Okay.
Then you click in and you choose your site, and know that when we're looking in this view, none of your customers are going to be able to see this stuff that we're seeing. And this is not going to be 100% accurate. It's like 90, 95%. So sometimes you'll see errors over here or things that look a little bit different than even that exact same screen size on the live site. So it's nice because you'll see in a second, we're just clicking in to make adjustments. But the downside of that is you can't totally rely on it. So if you're really
so don't make changes that also I just see on here, because chances are it's not.
Right. Like we were looking at a site actually earlier today where the way it was coded, the logo, whenever you're in this view, it was a little tiny speck up here. That's not what it looked like on the live site. So there's little glitchy stuff like that, but all in all, it's going to be pretty close, and it makes it a lot easier to think through this. So over here, you've got your navigation that take you to different parts of the back end of the site. You're mostly going to live in pages here. Design has to do with a lot of the decisions we've been making together, like, I want to change all the fonts on the site or colors, things like that. You're probably going to decide on it through a process like this and then leave it. You're not going to need to get in there much. You guys are not going to be selling t-shirts and stuff like that, so you don't need to worry about commerce. Analytics is where you can actually see site traffic and how things are going. This is a really nice, beautiful, and easy tool. And they've actually got an app you can use on your phone for that.
Okay.
And settings, again, is something you're probably not going to touch super often, and it's going to be some stuff we're going to work on now and then probably not mess with too much in the future. Marketing is actually a very new one, and it allows you to send out email campaigns and do some other things through your site here. But again, that's not really going to be the center point of what we're talking about today. So most of what we're going to be looking at is going to be things that, or the types of things that you should be thinking about that you're going to be handling are, well, Dr. Bryant just got a new certification. I want to add that to his bio. You need to be able to go and dive in, edit an existing block of text and add that to it. Or you catch a spelling error, or say, we added another doctor.
Okay.
Things like that. You're probably not going to be creating a ton of whole new pages from scratch.
So we'll do that on the pages.
Yes. So what I did is I just clicked here into pages. And then we've got a couple of different kinds of pages. So up here in the top, we've got main navigation. You'll notice that whenever I slide something around in here, this over here reloads. And look, now home is second, new patients is first.
Oh, I see.
So that's one of the things that I love about it is it's pretty intuitive.
So the content is actually on the left, and all you did was click pages.
I'm inside of pages, and I'm dragging guys around here in this main navigation area. And then our secondary navigation, you'll notice the little icons for these pages are slightly different. These two rectangles on top of each other are what's called an index page, and those are heavier pages with a bunch of sections inside of them. And those, you don't have to do a whole lot different in editing. And when we click in here, you'll be able to see it's fairly straightforward. But these guys are simple pages. And then this is just a link. And so when you click on that, the only option you have is to change the text that displays here, and then you can change the phone number. And then down here's a bunch of not linked pages. Some of these are scratch work that we did while we were trying to figure out different ways, like for example, to do the FAQ page. We'd wrestle back and forth on some different options there. And then the testimonials are a thing that's being referenced somewhere else in the site, but you don't necessarily want it up here in the navigation. And new patients we handled differently too. So most of this is scratch stuff that we could probably delete. But
can we delete it? Because is there ever a possibility I'm going to click on something else that's on my site?
If you drug one of these up into the navigation area, yes, but nobody's going to be able to really find or access this stuff. What we can do though here is we can go ahead and kill this stuff if that makes you feel better.
Yes.
So all you have to do to say we made a page and it was a mistake, you just mouse over it, and then there's a little trash can icon right here. Make sure you want to do that. Boom, it's gone. First time, what should I bring? We decided we don't like this route. And so we can just kill that right here. And if you ever delete something on accident, you can go look here in your deleted pages, and you got all that stuff still in there that you could refresh. It might clean out. It was April. That was December. So yeah, it stays for a while. Let me kill this. And we're just cruising through, deleting all these guys. Nice and clean. All right, so let's go ahead and look at some of these pages and how to edit. I'm sure you've noticed as we're mousing through some of this, this little guy's handy too. It lets you, again, get a mostly accurate view of some of these things on mobile. An example of the discrepancies here is this cannot play on mobile, but it does play on our browser here because it's not truly a mobile device. But just looking at that, you would think video is going to play on mobile.
So it's what is it? It's a phone, an iPad, and a computer. Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Those are just three common screen sizes that you want to usually account for. Okay. iPads are actually a very small share of the web browsing thing. It's usually 5 to 10%. So we don't normally really make a bunch of changes for that if it breaks on other sizes, if that makes sense. Basically, don't kill yourself on that one. All right, so you notice as we're hovering over things, there's gray boxes up here that allows you to, and there's a little outline over the section where it's showing you what it's referencing. And this is a really easy way, especially if you've had experience using other content systems. Usually you have to go make changes not seeing the front end of the site. You're kind of knowing and guessing and matching things up. This allows you to literally just dive straight in here and say, oh, we like to spell it with an S. And you can save it, and then there you go. It's on your site. Let's fix that.
Where's the save button? Oh, save
Right
button,
up here at the
okay.
top. And if you try and click out and do something else, it'll say, wait, do you want to save your changes?
Okay.
And so as you scroll down the page, remember this is an index page, so it's got all these sections, but we're still able to just jump into any of these sections as we want to. Say, oh, that button goes to the wrong place. You can choose what page on your site that you want to go into. If you want to go somewhere else like Amazon.com or something crazy like that, you can do that too. More about. And then I had just hit cancel, and it. See, you want to make sure your change is discarded, and then it kept full bio there.
Okay.
All right, so scrolling on down, I'm sure this is something that you guys will want to adjust and edit down the road, especially if you bring on more specialists. You literally just add items to the bullet list like that.
What else did it say? It said something else in it. Factors for. Did it say something else?
I think I added a bullet and then I added a second line. I remember this one had more bullets.
Can we go ahead and put factors and stuff?
As two separate items?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Alrighty, we've got our Google reviews in here, and this is what's being referenced with our testimonials down here. Now, the thing to consider with this, and we'll dive in here in a second and look a little bit more at that, but while you certainly can add more testimonials and freshen them up or switch them up, there's not a ton of value or reason to necessarily, because the whole reason we have them up on the site is to show, one, you guys do good work, two, people have been here, this isn't most first rodeo, and just to show that people are happy with what you've done. So nobody's coming back for their second or third visit going, I wonder if they've got any new reviews up, or I wonder if people still think well of them.
Okay.
So again, we're going to walk through it and show you how to make adjustments, but that's not something that you're going to need to worry about too much. And so all these sections work very similarly. If you want to make an adjustment, you hit edit. I feel like we've sweated through background images a good bit, but if there's a reason you're like, oh my God, we've got to get that down, take it down, we've got to switch it out, that's handled through Banner.
Banner is the background pictures?
Yeah. So on these index pages, or the bigger, heavier pages, you can make adjustments with the banner. And so you could remove this and add another huge photo of Dr. Bryant, since he loves photos of himself so much. This little icon is actually a really cool thing, especially if you've ever tried to code anything like this. It's a nightmare. Squarespace has made it really easy where you choose somebody's face as the focal point of the image. So at different screen sizes and situations, it's going to crop that background image. But this allows you to say, hey, if you're going to crop anything, try not to crop this face out because we want to be able to see it, we don't want to cover it up, things like that. So you'll see that basically anytime there's a chance to upload an image, you can choose. So if you guys have a Christmas party and upload photos, you can choose everybody's faces in there. Alrighty. Now the footer, so all the changes we make to this page occur and show up only on the home page. Stuff that we do over here is going to show up on every page, similar to the header of the site.
So footer's on every page.
And you'll remember we have our black backgrounds, or our borders around these guys. one thing I like to do to help me rest a little easier is I opened up an incognito window. You don't have to do this, but it this is just a reference point. This is what the site will look like if we're not logged in. Right now, people have to use a password because it's not live yet. There we go. So what gave me a little heart attack there is I was noticing our, oh, and it's back now. When we were editing, our border went away. I wanted to make sure the border was still there on the live side. But yeah, if you guys want to adjust hours of operation, things like that, that's handled here. You notice these little teardrop shapes that are popping up all over the site. That is a little bit more of if you're building in new sections or adding stuff to the site. Wherever you hover your mouse, so notice this line goes all the way across, you click on that, there's a little pop-up. Don't get overwhelmed. This is a lot of cool stuff to add, but these are what are called modules. So you say, I want to add a block of text down at the footer with legal requirements down there. You go in here. 80% of the time you're going to be using text, image, or a button. Sometimes you'll use a gallery, and there's a lot of great options in here, but you honestly are not going to use them most of the time. So I just clicked it, and now there's a text box that I can start typing in. And you need to think about this like a Word document or an email. Basically, anything you can do in one of those, you can do in here. So you can change this to become a big heading, which is styled to be white. Not going to be super useful here. Or a bunch of different options. The thing that's different about this from an email is you can add images and videos and other things in there. But again, I don't know how much of that you guys are going to be doing. Let's go ahead and save our stuff here. And let's go, just for the sake of the exercise, go look at a few other pages. Is there anything you have questions about so far?
No.
So let's go. About seems like one that you guys might want to dive in. So this one's got a few less options because when you hit edit, it just allows you to edit this whole block of text right here. You've got these spacers that you can adjust kind of how things are laid out. And then you've got your bio right here. And it's the same deal. You make your changes, you hit save. And FAQ. So in order to get it to look cool and open like this, it's going to be a little bit harder to edit. And that's one of the things we had talked about in early in the talk is kind of a line of customize and fancy and easy to change. So most of the site is really easy. This one's slightly harder to change, but I think you'll be up for it. So this feels like scary, crazy code world, but if you notice, most of what you're going to be messing with is just adjusting existing text.
Did you just click exit, edit there? That's all. That's
yeah. So this one is not text. This one's called Markdown, which is a type of code. And so you can, if you want to make a new one, all you have to do is copy one of these as it is right now. And let's go ahead and do this together. So obviously you can dive in here and make changes, change the spelling, hit apply, and it would save that. If you added another line, yeah. If you wanted to add a new one, so we'll add one up at the top here. All right, is Squarespace, so easy. Yes, Josh is a great teacher. All right, so we hit apply and we hit save. So you already saw it show up here. And then let's go to, so remember this one's, they're not opening and closing correctly because we're in the front end, and that's a little bit of a custom piece. So it may or may not work in the preview. Refresh. There you go. Obviously we don't want that in there, so we will kill that. Does that make sense though? You feel?
Yeah, you highlighted one of the blue things to create the new.
Yeah, you've got your answer down here, and then this title is, you can kind of look at the other examples. Oh, that's the only line that doesn't look like gibberish. That must be for me to write for other humans. Let's see. And let's go to new patients. So this is another one where it's mostly just text blocks. We've got our patient form. So our patient form is, this is something where I've got a bunch of, you may run into this in certain situations. I have a bunch of stuff attached to my browser that really helps me do other parts of my job, but those tools in Squarespace don't like to play together. So right here, I tried to edit the PDF link for the forms, and it pops up and then it disappears. So what I had to do to get by that is just open up another browser. And you may not even run into that because you probably don't have a bunch of crazy things attached to your browser at home. But I can show you how that works right over here. So same deal, we're in another system, but most of this stuff looks exactly the same.
I think loading a new form might be something the most.
Yeah, that's why
The most likely thing that I'm going to have to do.
That was one of the reasons I wanted to go ahead and do this, because I figured that one could get changed and updated. So we're navigating to the page we want to edit. We see what we're trying to do in here. We click edit. You notice though that with all these things, the steps are roughly the same, even though the place and the format and all those are a little bit different.
Wow.
All right, so I just clicked into the link here, hit edit, and then if you wanted to upload a new PDF, you just add the new file.
Okay.
And then if you wanted to pick one that already existed, it's right there. And most of the time when I've got PDFs or things like that, I just wanted to open it in a new tab because people a lot of times get stuck and want other things on the site but don't remember how to get back to them. Cancel. And then if you guys want to change your phone numbers, we haven't done buttons yet, so let's click on a button here. So again, you can show, hey, call today here, but to me it's more helpful if somebody's on, let's say a PC desktop situation where they may or may not have Skype hooked up to call the phone numbers. They wouldn't know what the phone number is to call with their phone as they're sitting in front of the computer. That's one of the reasons we use phone numbers as the text. Most of the time, people, does that make sense?
Yes.
Because if I click that on my computer, it's going to pull up FaceTime and try and call that number right now.
Okay.
And if I do that on my phone, it's going to do the same thing.
So it has to be in both the text and the.
It doesn't have to be, but that is why we chose to go that route, is to make sure everybody's got the information that they need there.
Okay.
The only thing you have to consider as you're doing this is that little TEL colon. So if you want to make a phone number change, I would just highlight over that and tweak it. You can't have any spaces in here. It's got to be sort of like a link, but Squarespace will help you with some of that stuff. And I don't anticipate you guys are going to need to adjust that too often. And if you do, you're going to have a bunch of changes throughout the site.
I would never have to change them.
Site today. All righty, so we are doing pretty good on time. Let's go double check our contact form, make sure these go into the right place. Oh, that's right, we do not have a contact form on here.
Oh, right, yeah.
So we're all good there. Hours is something that you might want to change, but again, this is just editing text right here. And directions. So I think that currently links out to Google Maps with your office. Mm. Alrighty. Do you have any questions so far?
No.
Feeling good?
Mm-hmm.
It's for the first, and this was 2 years ago, probably was the first time that I really started getting into Squarespace, and there was a little bit of a learning curve, but after about a month in there, I was like, okay, this makes a lot of sense, and quickly became one of my favorite platforms that we've ever used. Also, the templates are even easier and better now than they were back then, so it's gotten even more intuitive. And also, I was trying to be crazy and break stuff and make it super interesting and different.
So if I'm messing around with this and trying to make changes, the second I hit save, it goes live as well, that change?
Yes.
Okay.
So if you got something, you can't duplicate these. You can duplicate the simple ones, though, I think. Yeah, there is a little element of that where there's not a saved version of it. If you go completely delete something, you can go pull it back out of the trash. But if you didn't have this written down somewhere, you delete it and saved it, you'd have to go rewrite and remember what this says. But I think you'll be in good shape there. One thing, if I'm ever nervous about that stuff, I'll just copy everything that's in there, paste it in a text document, and then keep writing. Like if it's especially if it's code stuff, that way I've got a backup of it.
Okay.
All right. So what we can do now, let me just see something real quick here. Have we written SEO? Meta description? No. Alrighty. So there's a couple of ways we can go from here. That's kind of the Squarespace deal. We can spend some time signing up for your account and getting you added in here. I would love to do all this if we can, but I want to prioritize too. So as of right now, I'm going to take your temperature. Do you feel like we're pretty close to being ready to go live?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess if we could just look at it on both mobile and, well, I've just seen it. If I can look at mobile.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah. So the other stuff that I would love to touch today, and we don't have to necessarily do it in this meeting, but sometimes it's easier, is figuring out your domain situation, because I'm not sure if you guys have a domain yet or not. I know you've got the subdomain on the Homestead deal.
Is that the GoDaddy stuff? That's what you're doing?
Oh, you did send that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, that's again something that I want to just kind of talk through together if we can. But yeah, let's review on both sizes. So we'll put this down since we know that it's not quite accurate. And let's go ahead and stop recording. So this video
does that have to be deleted?
What's that?
Why is Squarespace so easy?
Yeah, I already deleted, but the page hadn't been refreshed yet. All right, so let's do this though. Let's stop recording. How do I do that? In meetings, stop recording.